near the 10 freeway. So Saro's trying to get us a little bit closer to the car there. Thank you. Jack Noise at the assignment desk letting us know that the person in the vehicle is considered to be armed and dangerous, and the car does come back as a stolen as well, from what we're hearing. So he continues to circle the same area, and it looks like he's just going to bail. I see actually a passenger got out. I think the car's still going. So yeah, sure enough, the passenger got out and the vehicle is continuing on here, but he continues to circle the same area, so clearly an area that is familiar to him or the passenger, and let the passenger out, and officers are going to try to detain that person, but that lead unit is going to stick with the vehicle as it proceeds northbound here on Hoover from Venice. Okay, slight right there. I hear officers in foot pursuit of the passenger. They say he's in an alley. So they're trying to track him down. This guy's still running red lights over here. Again, stolen car, and the occupants are considered armed and dangerous. Unclear how many people may be in the car, but we know at least it was 2. Although now it may just be down to 1. So it's at about our 2 o'clock, Sarah. Saro's getting us a little bit closer to it. We're in the Pico Union area, residential neighborhood. Westlake and Olympic now making that right-hand turn. The airship is sticking with the vehicle here. And again, officers were in foot pursuit of the passenger who got out. Okay, officers are going code 6 with the passenger, which means that they are detaining him. He's not in custody yet, but they are in position to take him into custody. And the driver and whoever else may be in the car, they continued on. They're now at Olympic Boulevard making that right-hand turn just behind this building here. We'll see them pop out here. Here you go. Olympic and Connecticut in the Pico Union area. So making lots of turns here. So officers are saying that they do have 1 in custody, so that was the passenger. That's all I saw get out from my vantage point. There was a building in the way, so it was hard to see if anybody else got out also, but at least 1 passenger from what we could see from our vantage point. Okay, making that right-hand turn. Okay, they have a passenger in custody. But I hear them talking about possibly setting up a perimeter, so unclear if there's 1 more person that they're looking for. Officers were there because he circled here before, so they had actually said they were going to try to set up some spikes if he continued circling in the same area. Okay, coming up to a T intersection here, I'm going to make that right-hand turn. Now we do have the NBC4 News at 11 o'clock here coming up very soon as he comes up to a major intersection here, Washington and Hoover. Now, real quickly, I'm just going to say a few words for our viewers from our sister station Telemundo in Spanish, and as soon as I'm done, or if anything dramatic happens, then I'll revert back to English. Buenas noches desde el helicóptero. Yo soy Eliana Moreno reportando sobre una persecución policíaca que ahora se encuentra en el área de Harvard Heights. La policía de la ciudad de Los Ángeles está persiguiendo a este vehículo negro en color, posiblemente un Honda Civic y presumiblemente un carro robado. También las autoridades creen que las personas que están adentro del vehículo están armadas y posiblemente peligrosas. Esta es una persecución que empezó aproximadamente hace unos 20 minutos en el área del centro de Los Ángeles. Y primero estaba en la autopista 10 en dirección oeste, antes de bajarse la autopista donde ahora se encuentran en las calles. Por un tiempo estaban en el área del centro de Los Ángeles manejando a altas velocidades. Y como pueden ver, el peligro continúa aquí ahora en el área de Pico Union, donde la policía de Los Ángeles sigue persiguiendo a este vehículo robado. Reportando desde el helicóptero, Eliana Moreno, del Mundo 52. Can we get a touch closer, Sarah, if possible? Can we get a little bit closer, if possible? Thank you. It's at about our 2 o'clock. I know, see, my IFB fell out. Got it, thank you. Back with you guys here in English. We have a few minutes before our 11 o'clock broadcast, so let me just recap where we're at. We're still in the area of Pico Union. This is 8th Street. Going to be climbing on the freeway here, I think, or just going under it for a moment. Here we go. He's going to pop out the other side. Continuing here, officers are in close pursuit. You've got patrol units behind him. Okay. Just on the other side here of the Wilshire Grand, or the Ritz-Carlton rather. It's always tough when a pursuit makes its way through downtown LA because of the buildings. So we kind of have to guess where he's going to turn, just because the buildings block our view a good 50% of the time. Yeah. We're now at Hope and 11th. So heart of downtown here. Again, unclear how many people may be in the car. We saw at least one passenger get out. That person is now in custody. The windows are pretty darkly tinted, so it's hard to see inside. But again, stolen car and considered armed and dangerous. And the lead unit is a Southwest LAPD unit. Yep. Okay, right next to the convention center. Popping out the other side. Going under the 110 freeway. Audrey, I got you. Go ahead. Go ahead, Booth. I can hear you. Go ahead. Copy that. Okay, perfect. Does the video show 2 or does it show 1? Because I could only see 1. Okay, cool. So we saw at least 1 passenger get out. Oh, right here. Another person getting out. In the area of Cortland and Alvarado. Mike Level 4, News Chopper 4. We're over this pursuit here now. Okay, perfect. Thank you. And thank you to everyone who is joining us online. We do have the NBC4 News at 11 o'clock coming up here in just a couple minutes. We'd love it if you guys could tune in the first one. All right, so 2 in the first one, 1 right now, so 3 total. One minute. Colleen, and this is very close to the Crypto.com Center. We're just off of Chickern Road, and the vehicle is just on the other side of the freeway there, so we should see him pop out here in just a moment. So this is the LAPD that is in pursuit from the ground and the air. It's units from the Southwest Division of the Los Angeles Police Department, and the vehicle itself appears to be a Honda Civic, perhaps. It came back as a stolen. It was actually an undercover officer who first spotted the vehicle, tried to pull it over, and the pursuit was on. And since then, we have learned that the occupants may also be armed and dangerous. But at this point, it's unclear how many people are left in the car, because we actually have some tape to show you that we shot earlier during this pursuit when initially 2 of the passengers got out of the vehicle, and both of those people are now in police custody. And then later on, let's say about another 10 minutes after that, we saw the driver let another passenger out. So in total, 3 passengers have gotten out of the vehicle. It's unclear, though, how many more may be left. But again, this pursuit is in the area of Figueroa and 8th, now going westbound, just on the other side of the big buildings here, just going under the 110 freeway. Yeah, it's It's been very close to the Crypto.com Center, formerly known as the Staples Center, as well as the LA Convention Center. We've passed those two landmarks several times during this pursuit, which is what leads officers to believe that the driver, at least, is very familiar with this area. So they've been trying to set up spike strips on streets where he's already gone more than once, because he's clearly establishing a pattern. And we have seen them attempt to deploy those spike strips, but at this point, it's unclear if any of them have been effective. Yeah, initially an undercover officer spotted the car, came back as a stolen, but then they also learned that it was armed and dangerous individuals inside of the vehicle. So for that reason, they have to be very careful when this pursuit does come to an end, just in case those individuals are armed with a gun. Yeah, we're in the Pico Union area. We're currently headed westbound on 8th Street towards Alvarado. So we're actually not far from MacArthur Park at this point, continuing westbound on 8th Street. So we're entering Westlake. And again, this is the LAPD's Southwest Division that is in pursuit. The Southwest Division of the LAPD covers the area near USC. And it's unclear exactly where this pursuit began, but we first heard about it when it was on the westbound 10 freeway near downtown Los Angeles. Yeah, and kudos to my pilot, Sarah Garabetian, who's been able to keep track of the police helicopter and the vehicle on this one, because as you said, it's been lots of twists and turns on this pursuit. He's been running red lights, driving on the wrong side of the road at times, so really unpredictable, difficult one to follow, especially when it's a dark-colored vehicle like this. Fortunately, at no point during the pursuit has he gone blacked out. He has kept his headlights on at least, so that does make it a touch easier for us. But again, unclear how many people may be in the car. We saw 3 jump out so far, and there's a pedestrian there in the middle of the roadway. Wow. Oh man, there's been some times actually when I've actually seen pedestrians rather, throw things at the vehicle, because this pursuit has been going on for quite some time in this area. So people are becoming aware of it and trying to get involved in some way. Of course, never do that if at all possible. Yeah, there really is no pattern exactly to what he's been doing. As you said, there's times when he just slows down, speeds up, wrong side of the road, stops sometimes, and then just plows through an intersection at others. So really, there's no pattern. The only thing that they've been able to figure out is that at least he's circling the same streets, and so that leads them to believe that he's familiar with the area. They could try to set up a spike strip and hopefully start to deflate some of these tires. Yeah, it's not going to be single-family homes, so you're just going to have commercial buildings as well as apartments at most, but no homes, at least in this area. And it's pretty late at night. We don't expect to see too many pedestrians, but you saw the images here about 2 minutes ago when there was a pedestrian right in the middle of the roadway. So even at this late of an hour of the night, there's always a possibility that there could be a pedestrian, and especially since he's running red lights and stop signs, that just makes it that much more dangerous. Oh, yeah, there was that other vehicle there with those people who got out of the car. It's unclear if they knew the person or not, but they're continuing here on 12th and Lake. And my pilot, Saro, was just hearing from the police helicopter that there may be an additional 2 to 3 people left in the car. Saro, is that what you said? Another 2 people left in the car. So a driver and a passenger left. We've seen 3 get out so far. These Honda Civics do sit 5 people, so it looks like when all this started, there were 5 people in the car. The want is stolen car as well as armed and dangerous. The police code would be Code 6 Charles, so that's what we heard. So that comes back to an armed and dangerous individual. It's unclear if everyone in the vehicle was considered armed and dangerous or just the driver or one of the passengers. But I can tell you that during this pursuit, 3 passengers got out already. As far as we know, at least the first 2 were taken into custody. And from what we're hearing from the police helicopter, there are still 2 people left in the car, the driver as well as Back with you here, Colleen. So where we're at is Olympic Boulevard, which is a major thoroughfare here through the area. He's running red lights indiscriminately. Yeah, we haven't. Yeah, we haven't seen any attempts for pit maneuver, and I've been monitoring the scanner because I am able to hear the police chatter on this one, and I have not heard them say that they're pit authorized yet. Of course, all LAPD officers are pit trained. They learn it in the academy or at EVOC, at the Emergency Vehicle Operations Center. However, at this point, we have not heard the watch commander authorize the permission to pit, and the reason for that is that if the driver or anybody in the vehicle really is considered to be armed, you wouldn't want to put the officers in a situation where they could be nose to nose essentially with somebody who has a gun. So what I'm hearing now is that the reason that he may be slowing down is that the tires are starting to deflate. So you're going to start to see a little bit of smoke there coming from that rear tire. It looks like the two tires, at least on our side of the vehicle, are now flat. Yeah, it's unclear. We know that this started with an undercover officer who was following this car. So it could have been that this was a stakeout situation where they've been tracking this person for quite some time, and we're looking for just the right opportunity to try to pull them over. But unfortunately, when they did try, the driver failed to yield and the pursuit was on. And it's been going on now for a good 30 minutes at this point, 30 to 40 minutes. And it's been a fast mover the whole time, driving erratically on surface streets. And it was on the freeway, on the 10 freeway when it first began. But at this point, it's unclear to us what the speeds and driving techniques were like at that point. But at least on surface streets, it's been a dangerous one. Yeah, it was the latter. It was actually an officer putting out a spike strip, but it looks like because the vehicle's going relatively slow now, he was able to see it coming and was able to dodge it. But we know that at least one spike strip has been effective because the two tires on the driver's side are now flat. Yeah. Yeah, so it's definitely more than half a dozen, as you said. And normally this would be a little bit on the high end, but I think that the only reason why they have so many officers is because there's a possibility of multiple subjects in the vehicle. They know 3 jumped out already, so they know that at most they have another 2. But it's the armed and dangerous component that's the real reason why they have so many officers on this one. But as you said, it's probably closer to about 8 squad cars. If we get a nice wide shot here, I may be able to count. But yeah, I'd put it, as you said, at about 8 officers with the LAPD helicopter overhead. That's correct. We're hearing that it's possibly 2, and they're both in the front seat. Of course, the driver and a passenger in the front. And I am hearing now that a third wheel may actually be going flat. So he's got 3 bad tires now, so that explains why his speeds have slowed down so much compared to what we've witnessed during the course of this pursuit. And for the most part during this pursuit, he's been in this area, Pico Union. He's been in Westlake for a touch, and he was in downtown Los Angeles near the Crypto.com arena, formerly known as the Staples Center. He was in that area for a little bit as well. And the only freeway that he's been on has been the 10, although he has gone under both the 10 and the 110 several times during this pursuit. Yeah, definitely fishtailing now, and he's just on the other side here of these buildings, so he's popping out the other side and continuing eastbound rather on Olympic, coming up to Valencia here in the Pico Union area. And just to kind of give you a feel for what this area looks like in terms of buildings, it's mostly commercial, and maybe making a turn here, yeah, headed southbound, and that may put him into a more residential area. But again, running the plates on this car is only going to lead them to the information of the rightful owner, as it is believed to be a stolen car. Yeah, definitely looks like apartments on the right side of the screen and a car lot on the left. And this may be an area that is familiar to him, and he's hoping to be able to drive home and bail from the car, or perhaps drive to a friend's house, or sometimes we see a situation where the occupants just want to talk to a family member one last time before they're detained. So it's unclear what his thought process may be in this situation, but just in covering previous pursuits, we know that drivers tend to return to an area that is familiar to them. Yeah, that's correct, Colleen. And look at this intersection. Yeah, it looks like you had officers at every corner, so in all likelihood, they had set up a spike stripper, were attempting to set one up, and kind of force him to go a certain way by leaving this as the only open route. So we'll see if perhaps that does cause any additional damage to the vehicle. I want to say that that rear tire on our side is really struggling now. It looks like it's about to go. He's going to be down on the rim here in a matter of moments. Yeah, exactly. So it does take some time for those spike strips to kick in. And we haven't been able to look on the passenger side of the car, but I am hearing that possibly he could be down to the rim on that side of the vehicle. So it's only going to be a matter of time before the vehicle just becomes disabled and he's not able to continue any longer. But he's giving it all it's got. It's not giving him much, though, at about 20 miles an hour here on Alvarado and 11th Street in the Pico Union area, as the Los Angeles Police Department continues what is now a slow speed pursuit of a stolen car. Really has not. He's stayed in the Pico Union area for most of the time, dabbled into downtown for a little bit, just touched Westlake for a touch. That's near the MacArthur Park area. But it definitely looks like this is probably what this guy calls home. And so drivers tend to return to an area that is familiar to them because they're looking for a way out, looking for, cross traffic here, coming up here for just a moment. Fortunately, he's going slow enough, you'll see that traffic, and is making that gingerly turn here, northbound rather, on 12th and Westlake. But usually drivers will tend to return to an area that is familiar to them because they don't want to drive into a dead end. They could possibly go to a parking structure that they're familiar with where they could try to hide out there. So it does give them a little bit, it gives them more options if they know where they're at. Yeah, correct. So you'd have, with every pursuit, you have your regular officers, and then you also have sergeants, you have a watch commander, you have the lead unit who is following the vehicle, and they're not responsible for calling out the streets. It's usually that second unit, but in this case, because there is a helicopter overhead, usually the observer in the helicopter, who is basically the person who is on the camera in the helicopter, that person will call out the pursuit so that the officers on the ground can hear where it's going. But in a situation where there can't be a helicopter overhead because of, let's say, it's a weather issue and the helicopter can't fly, then that second unit behind the pursuit would be calling out the streets to allow that initial unit to keep tabs on the car. There goes the spike. Yeah, it looks like at least 3 tires are giving out on him. If he has anything left, it might be the rear passenger. Haven't been able to take a look at that, but I am hearing from my viewers on Twitter that they're telling me that the passenger side on the front is gone. So 3 bad tires. We can definitely see that the one on this side in the rear is about to go. So it's only a matter of time before this vehicle just won't go anymore. Exactly. Under normal circumstances, at these speeds, if they didn't think that the person inside was armed, they could very easily do a successful pit maneuver. But in this case, it is believed to be an armed individual, or perhaps even more than one. We believe that there may be at least 2 people left in the car. So for that reason, the officers really have. Oh, there's a tire. It just flew off. Yep. Yeah, there you go. The tire just flew off. It went going towards the sidewalk. I want to say that that was a tire on the passenger side. Yep, it was a tire on the passenger side because we still have the 2 on this side. But he's definitely fishtailing, losing a little bit of control here of the vehicle now as he continues on Pico near Union. Yeah, but I have a feeling he's going to lose any control that he does have very soon as the vehicle continues to fishtail. He lost the tire on the passenger side. I believe that might have been the rear. And on this side, he's about to lose the rear as well. So he's just under the freeway. Hopefully he sticks to surface streets at this point and doesn't try to get on the freeway. In that case, the CHP could get involved, but hopefully this would be such a short pursuit at that point that the LAPD could just stay on it. So we're just off of LA Live Way, so all of you who are familiar with the Microsoft Center as well as Crypto.com will know that street. He was just on that. He's now going under this parking structure. We should see him pop out the other side. That's going to be the freeway there. And let's see if he makes it out to the other end. Sometimes pursuits will end right under the freeway and we're unable to see them, but I'll continue to keep tabs on the scanner and let you know what I'm hearing. But just oh, there we go. Sparks flying as he comes out the other side of the freeway. That's because he's down to the rim on the front passenger side, or yeah, the front passenger tire is down to the rim. So that's why we're seeing sparks now. And he continues here at about 12th Street and Valencia in the Pico Union area, just under those trees. Yeah, at this point, they have to realize that the car is giving up on them, so they're going to have to look for another way out, if there is another way out. Ideally, they just surrender. The officers already took their buddies into custody, so they would be interrogating those friends and asking them who is behind the wheel, who else is behind the car, what are they armed with, just so that officers have a better idea. But you can see that this car is really falling apart, which is really a shame for the rightful owner because, again, this is a stolen car that is now going to be missing all 4 tires. Yeah, so we're in the Pico Union area, right off of 12th and Bonnie Bray. So in terms of downtown LA, we would be just to the west of it in what is a mostly residential area. You can see apartments on either side of the street. But he continues to fishtail, continue to lose control. Hopefully, when he does lose control completely, it won't be towards any other vehicles or pedestrians. But for now, he's trying to give it all it's got, going at about 20 miles an hour here. Yeah, absolutely. And he's been over in that downtown LA area multiple times during this pursuit, just making a big circle here through the area, but continuing to return to this Pico Union area, which again leads officers to believe that this is perhaps where these individuals live. They can't get any information off the car because when they do run the plates, it's just going to lead them to the rightful owner. And these guys are not the owners. This is believed to be a stolen car and armed and dangerous individuals. But you can see that there are sparks now flying as they make the turn there next to the McDonald's on Olympic with a cross of Westlake Avenue. Say that one more time for me, Colleen. Yeah, yeah, so they realize that these are their last moments of freedom here because they're going to be detained one way or another. But the good thing is that the officers realize that time is on their side, so they don't need to rush these guys. They can continue to slowly chip away at the vehicle by deploying these spike strips, tire after tire. They're going to lose them all, and eventually the vehicle's not going to be able to move. So that'll be their opportunity to take these guys into custody. Of course, that doesn't mean that that'll bring things to an end because these guys could simply refuse to get out of the car, and then it becomes a standoff situation where even the SWAT team could come out. But there's another spike. That was a very good spike. So I don't know that this guy has tires left to deflate, but clearly the officers are continuing their efforts to make sure that all tires are going to be gone and that this vehicle isn't going to be able to go anywhere. Yeah, it's really rare actually that they haven't tried one at this point because, as you said, there's been other times when people have been armed and they haven't tried a pit. So there have been a lot of police pursuit-related crashes lately, so it's unclear if that has any say in not attempting a pit maneuver in this situation. But you can see that this vehicle is gonna catch fire. Look at all these spikes that are coming from that front passenger tire. These guys have to get out of the car. The vehicle is starting to smoke. Officers are right on their tail. I'm gonna widen out just a little bit because these can always be the most dangerous parts of the pursuit because you don't know what the person could jump out of the vehicle with. So we'll keep this slightly wider shot. I'll keep an ear on the scanner, keep my eyes on the screen, and we'll wait and see if the driver and passenger open their doors and surrender to police. Absolutely, and I can tell you that the LA City Fire Department, whose jurisdiction this is already getting a phone call here from the Los Angeles Police Department to get them out to the area, just in case this car does catch fire. And of course, if anyone is injured in any way as a result of this pursuit termination, at least they're staging nearby and would be ready to take them to the hospital if need be. But there goes the police helicopter flying by. And again, at this point, officers really like to slow it down. They'll make commands to the vehicle. They'll ask them to throw the keys out of the car. That way it guarantees that they won't be able to continue any longer. It's really hard to tell because the windows were really darkly tinted on this one. But what my pilot, Saro, had heard from the police helicopter at least was that there were two people left in the car, and they're both believed to be in the front seat. And I do see a driver door opening, and I see hands. It's always a good sign when you see hands. So you see the man there, his hands are going up. And at this point, it can vary what they ask him to do. They can either ask him to sidestep and lay down on the ground, or they can ask him to walk backwards to the sound of their voices. So it can just vary depending on officer protocol. So we'll see what happens in this case. It looks like they may be asking him to get down on the ground here. They'll often have him raise his shirt just to make sure there's nothing on his waistband that could possibly harm the officers. Because again, these were believed to be armed individuals, so for that reason, officers are going to be very careful when they approach. This is going to be Alvarado and Olympic Boulevard, so two major thoroughfares here through the Pico Union area, not far from MacArthur Park. And again, they're still making call-outs because they believe that at least one more person is in the car, officers with their guns drawn. Fortunately, at this time, everyone is complying. And even after, if we do see two people get out of the car, even after that, officers will assemble a team of officers who will approach the vehicle and make sure that nobody else is hiding inside. So here goes our second person, our passenger. I believe this may be a woman. It's somewhat difficult to tell, but someone with long hair at least, who is walking back in the direction of the officers. And again, this was a passenger, but everyone will be detained exactly the same and then taken back to the police station. And then at that point, officers can start to ask some questions and figure out who knew what and what their involvement was. And if this person wasn't involved in any way other than just being a passenger and an unwilling participant, then officers will let that person go. But for now, everyone will be detained just the same. NOCI last IFB. I got it, thank you. I got you, Colleen. Yeah, there's a group of people here on the sidewalk, and the reason for this is this pursuit was going on for so long. People in the neighborhood knew this was going on. It kept going down the same streets. You could hear the police helicopter. You could hear the media helicopters. So it was creating a lot of noise in this neighborhood. So it was very apparent to the residents, and so they stepped out to take a look. Of course, in these types of situations, you don't want to do that. These officers do have their guns drawn in the direction of these individuals, so you wouldn't want to be caught up in this type of situation. But at this point, fortunately, it appears that they are both complying. But again, the officers need to check the vehicle. They need to make sure that no one is hiding inside. They need to make sure that no one is hiding in the trunk. And once they feel comfortable, that is when they will approach these two people and take them into custody. Yeah, let me take a quick glance. I didn't see one during the pursuit. And at this point, I'm not seeing any canine officers here. So at this point, it doesn't appear that there are. Of course, had this become a standoff situation where they refused to get out of the car, then that would have given the officers time to call a canine unit in and potentially even the SWAT team if necessary. But in this case, it does appear that both people are complying. Yeah, they are. Let me get in a doubler to make it a little bit easier for us to see. But yeah, they're approaching the vehicle now. And pardon me here, the doubler is getting a little swirly on me here, but let me push it now so that we can see. Yeah, it's had to follow a lot of turns, that's for sure. But I'm seeing the code 4 from the officers, and so what that means in police code is an all clear. So at least the vehicle itself is all clear, and now they can approach the two individuals who are still fully complying on the ground. It appears to be a man and a woman. The man was the driver. And you see these officers from the LAPD Southwest Division approaching them individually, first taking the passenger into custody. And once they do handcuff them and walk them back towards a patrol car, they will do a cursory search of their person. So that what that means is they will just check to make sure that there's nothing on them that could possibly harm them, harm the officers, that is, before taking these two individuals back to the police station.